What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's my team selection for Game Week 6. I've already made my transfers and it looks like a bit of a mistake right now. So I'm going to show you how the team is looking and my thoughts on what to do if HAALAND is ruled out this weekend, which I don't think he will be, but you never know. It could happen. And I'll also take you through how I did in Game Week 5. So let's get into it. So Game Week 5 was pretty good for me. I played my bench boost and scored 66 points in total, and my overall rank is now 840k. So I was 4.3 million going into Game Week 4. I used my wild card. That week went well. Next week, the bench boost went well. Now I'm 840k. So I've gone from 4.3 million to 840k in 2 weeks. I think I have to say that's a pretty successful wild card so far. Obviously, not everyone has played their chips yet. There's lots of wild cards active for Game Week 6. Those people will have slightly stronger teams. I might fall behind a little bit, but I've got to be quite happy with how things have gone so far. And to be 840k after 5 game weeks is probably fine. There's still a long way to go. In terms of the bench specifically, that scored 18 points. So Dubravka lost his clean sheet pretty early on. So did Goodmanson. But Dubravka's so many saves that he finished on a 4-pointer. And Goodmanson got defensive contributions right at the end. I think if I remember correctly, it almost felt like he was nowhere near. Then all of a sudden he hit it. And he got 4 points. So that was good. Dewsbury Hall only a 1-pointer. I really didn't expect much from that Liverpool game. He was really more of a long-term pick. It is a bit harsh that he got the yellow card. It should have been a massive 2-pointer instead, but I'll take the 1 point. And then Senesi 9-pointer, absolute defensive contribution monster, and got the clean sheet. I have had some people get a little bit angry and dispute the bench boost, saying that, you know, you'd never play Paquetá over Senesi or Mateta over Senesi because of the amount of points they've scored this season, etc. But I think I would have. And like Lacroix only got a 2-pointer against West Ham, who was in my 11, but he hit the crossbar. So that could have been a bigger score. So I think if that was a normal week, that would have been my proper bench boost. I would have played Raya over Dubravka, and I'm pretty sure I would have played Paquetá and Lacroix and Mateta over Senesi. Maybe it was the wrong call. We can just say that my bench boost was only worth like 10 points. I'm fine with it, right? Either way, as a whole, wildcard into bench boost has gone nicely. Bruno Fernandes, 10-pointer. It's what he does. When he gets an attack and return, he's often very good for bonus. Obviously got a little bit lucky that the red card happened so early into that game. I will say, and it was only like 4 or 5 minutes, Man United were playing all right up until that point. They were causing Chelsea some problems. Would that have carried on? Maybe not, right? And maybe Fernandes would have blanked, but I'll absolutely take a stroke of luck. Van Dijk, Anderson, defensive contributions. Salah assist, captaincy. Semenyo, defensive contributions as well. Finished on a 5-pointer with no attack and returns. And then Mateta got the goal. Evan Nielsen and Gyökeres blank. So had I not played the bench boost, it would have been a pretty poor week. But, you know, lots of other people have already played their bench boost. So I guess it's just a little bit of catch-up, and that's absolutely fine. I'm pretty happy with how the team looks going forward. And I've already made my transfers. So let's talk about it. And let's talk about a little bit of HAALAND panic. So as you probably already know by now, I had 2 free transfers going into Game Week 6, and I've already used both of them. That has left me with 2.9 million in the bank. I think from a defensive point of view, I'm pretty happy with how I'm set up. Raya and Dubravka, my 2 goalkeepers, that will not change up until probably our next wildcard, unless there's an injury or something like that. Because the Arsenal defence is just so good, there's never going to be a game week where I'm particularly worried about playing them. And goalkeeper transfers are just a bit boring anyway. So it seems unlikely I would need to make one for a very long time. But let's see what happens. Defensively, Senesi, Anderson are just defensive contribution monsters. Like, they seem to pick it up pretty much. Like, I mean, Senesi's done it every game so far. Joachim Anderson's done it 4 in 5 games. It doesn't mean that will continue forever. There will be games where they don't pick it up, but they're going to pick it up so often that they're just great value. And even though Anderson's got some pretty bad fixtures coming up, long term he's kind of fine. Like, even Villa away this week, I don't mind playing him in. And then it's Bournemouth away in 7, bit tougher. Arsenal at home in 8, bit tougher. Newcastle away in 9, not great. But then it's Wolves at home, Everton away, Sunderland at home. Spurs away, City at home, not great. But then Palace at home is fine. Burnley away is fine. Forest at home in 17 is fine. There's so many fixtures I can play him in. And because of the lack of attacking fullbacks, there's not even this pressure to move them on anyway. So Senesi and Anderson are great. Van Dijk, I quite like long term, but he's not amazing for the next 2. Palace away this week and then Chelsea away in Game Week 7. but he is one of the more expensive defenders that can pick up defensive contributions. He's done it a few times already this season, and he's got genuine goal threat. So I'm not really in a rush to move him on either. And even if I wanted someone like Gabriel, this is not really the week to buy him with Newcastle away. I might as well wait until West Ham at home in 7. So I can actually see Van Dijk staying in my team for quite a while as well. Lacroix, Liverpool at home this week. It's Arsenal away in 9. But outside of that, Palace's fixtures are pretty good. Another guy that, guess what, is pretty good for defensive contributions and has got some genuine goal threat. And then Goodmanson's just my 4 million defender of choice. So you could argue that a Sunderland 4 million or an Esteve is slightly better, but Leeds' defence looks pretty strong, for a newly promoted team. And they've got some okay fixtures coming up. And most of the time, he's just going to sit last on my bench anyway. So defensively, I feel like I'm in a pretty good position. When I compare it to Wildcard Game Week 6, the two players that are significantly different are Gabriel, who I might get in Game Week 7 anyway, and Tarkowski, who is great, and I wish I had him, but I'm not in a panic that I don't have him, if that makes sense. I think the defenders I've got are fine. The way I set it up is that it will just work for many, many weeks. So this week I'm playing Senesi, Anderson, Van Dijk, Lacroix, Goodmanson on the bench. I think it looks pretty strong, and I'm hoping for another full set of defensive contributions from those players. So in midfield, one of the transfers I've already made was to sell Mo Salah to buy Tijani Reinders, basically to free up money to get Haaland. I think it's worth saying I haven't sold Salah because I think he's a really bad pick or anything like that. I think some people are at the stage where they're writing Salah off and Haaland is seen as essential. I'm not really in that camp. It just felt like a good time to make the move because Liverpool have got Palace away, followed by Chelsea away. Salah hasn't played well so far, I would say, compared to what we've seen in the past at least. And his underlying numbers after the first 5 matches, not great whatsoever. But those things can change pretty quickly. And we know how good he is. And I think after you get through the next 2 fixtures, Liverpool's games are actually pretty good for quite a while. So he's not been sold because I think he's bad. It just felt like an opportune time to bring in Haaland because of the Burnley at home fixture and captaincy, then Brentford away in Game Week 7. And I can always reverse that transfer at some point if I want to. Reinders was pretty much an obvious pick for me. The only other 2 players I looked at were Njai at 6.5, nailed on penalty taker, or Stack at 5 million to save even more money. Reinders kind of fell in between. So with Njai, if I'd gone for him, I could afford it, but it wouldn't have left me the option to do Goodmanson to Gabriel in Game Week 7, which I don't know if I'm definitely going to do, but with 2.9 million in the bank, it's a move that I can make. So that's what I'm looking at. And obviously it was a great time to buy Reinders because of the fixtures Man City have got coming up. He's played 90 minutes every single match. He's just great value. And when you look at the players that City have got, I don't really see too many players coming in and taking his place. Like and you've got to be careful when you say that with Man City players, I get it. But even if he does get benched the odd time, he's less than 6 million. It will still be annoying, but it won't be as frustrating as if you pick a Foden and he gets benched because he's 8 million of your budget. So I like Reinders. He was benched last night for the Carabao Cup. He's definitely going to start against Burnley. He did come on last night for like 20 minutes, but that's not going to impact his game time against Burnley. Maybe as we get further into the season and Man City are playing more Champions League games, we might see Reinders' minutes drop a bit in the league. Maybe there's the odd benching. He's less than 6 million. It's just not a massive issue, I don't think. And I've got a squad of 15 playing players. So even if he does miss out, if he gets no minutes, then someone will come off my bench anyway. And if he does, make a cameo appearance, so be it. Hopefully it's not that often. Bruno Fernandes, I have decided I'm going to stop caveating the Bruno Fernandes pick all the time or defending it. He's just a good option. Simple as that. Yes, you pay a little bit more for him for what the points is that he'll deliver. Like he's 5 points per game. There's lots of players that are 5 points per game. But you've got that certainty that he'll keep starting. He's still on penalties. He'll get chances even though he's playing in central midfield. He's just a good pick. And people will look at it with like midfielders and they'll go to points per game and they'll say, okay, well, Fernandes is getting 5.2 points per game, but you can get Iwobi or Cullen or Zubamendi or Stack, etc. Yes, these players have done very well so far. And some of them are good picks like Stack, but will they continue scoring that heavily? Probably not. Whereas Fernandes has got a chance to keep that up. So you do pay a little bit more for him. He's probably, in terms of the points he'll get at the end of the season, he's probably more like an £8 million player, maybe 8.5. But you've got that certainty with him. And I was listening to Planet FPL, their Chip podcast the other day. I think it was yesterday I was listening to it. And James was going through some potential dodgy fixtures for certain teams like Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, etc. Basically the teams in the Champions League where they might have the old game in the Premier League where maybe they rest a player. And it wasn't James saying that there's going to be mass rotation. There's just a little bit of uncertainty. So, for example, Saka's just got back from a slight hamstring problem. He'll play Newcastle away this week. Then it's Champions League. Then it's West Ham at home in 7. If Arteta's going to rotate for any of those games, which one's probably the easiest? Right now, maybe the West Ham game. Now, I think Saka will start that game for what it's worth, and I'm pretty sure James would say the same. Is he going to go and play 90 minutes? There's that uncertainty, right? Whereas with Fernandes, I just don't have that. And for that reason, there's value there in having him. I never have to worry about him whatsoever. And he's got Brentford away, and he's got Sunderland at home next too. And if I really want to sell him at some point, he's a nice way to get back to Salah. So he's a good pick. And when I was listening to that podcast, all the teams, this particular fixture in a few weeks' time, all I could think was, I just don't have those worries with Bruno Fernandes. And he'll probably stay on my team for quite a while. So yeah, that's going to happen, I suspect. Semenyo, if he keeps penalties, is a great pick. If Kluivert gets back into the team and goes back to being first choice penalty taker, I think Semenyo's at the risk of becoming slightly overrated. Like, he is a really good pick, and obviously I'm really happy with the price rises that continue, but I'm not sure he's quite as good as the amount of transfers he's had in. If he remains first choice penalty taker though, not essential I would say, but he will get close to that. 90-minute man on penalties every single week, no European rotation for less than 8 million. That is really difficult to turn down. So penalties do have a big factor in that. I love him as a pick. I've got no plans to sell him anytime soon. Although the 2.9 million in the bank would allow me to do Semenyo straight to Saka. I don't think I will do that move, but it is an option. And then the only choice I've really got to make in midfield is Dewsbury Hall versus Paquetá. I don't like benching penalty takers, but with Paquetá, he does offer a bit of attacking threat and a bit of a chance of defensive contributions, but it's not like he's getting tons of chances every game. If he was putting up numbers like Bruno or Foden or someone like that, or in Burmo, then I would absolutely play Paquetá over Dewsbury Hall because he's getting more chances from open play and he's on penalties. But I don't think that's really the case with him. So I'm happy to bench him for Everton away. My plan in Game Week 7 is to bench him for Arsenal away as well. And then actually West Ham's fixtures after that are pretty good. The only thing that might scupper the plan a little bit is if Dewsbury Hall picks up his 5th yellow card because he's on 4 already. So ideally I want to play him in Game Week 7 against Palace at home. Not an amazing fixture, but I'd rather play him than Paquetá against Arsenal away. But after that, Brentford at home in 8, Leeds away in 9, Newcastle at home in 10, Burnley at home in 11. That little fixture run looks pretty good. And because of the way I've set up my squad, I don't have to play him every week. So I've got a player playing number 10 on penalties who may even have a bit of a new manager bounce in Game Week 8 after the international break. I'm pretty happy with him. For now, I've got no plans to sell him, basically, until after that little good run. And then we'll see. I think with the money in the bank, it always leaves lots of options open. So I'm saying I'm definitely going to keep Fernandes and Semenyo and Paquetá. That could change pretty quickly. Like downgrading Gyökeres to, Guiu up front for 4.3 million, that suddenly puts like almost 7 million in my bank. That lets me do a lot of things with Paquetá. So I'm not necessarily saying he's definitely staying all those games, but that is the plan right now, primarily because I kind of want to get Gabriel next week. And then up front, I've got Evan Nilsson against Leeds away, HAALAND captain against Burnley at home, who's currently yellow flagged. So I'll come back onto that one in a minute. And what my plan might be if Pep Guardiola does rule him out this weekend, which I don't think is going to happen, but I guess it is a slight possibility. And then Gyökeres against Newcastle away. With the Arsenal man, he was benched last night against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup. He came off the bench and played about 20 minutes. So he looks absolutely nailed on to start against Newcastle. Not got any worries about that. I answered a question about Gyökeres versus Saka on the Game Week preview yesterday. And after going back and forth, my answer probably was that Saka was the slightly better pick. I've thought about that since. I think the reason I said that is because you know what you're getting with Saka. You know he's Arsenal's best attacker. So anytime he's fit and available, they're going to try and get as many minutes out of him as possible. And I guess we don't have that guarantee with Gyökeres. But honestly, I do think his minutes are pretty good. I think people are maybe underestimating how much he's going to play in that Arsenal team. And that's not to say he can't be subbed early. It's Newcastle away, then Champions League midweek, then West Ham at home in 7. There's every chance he gets subbed early in 2 of those games. Maybe the Champions League, depending on how it's going. And then West Ham, like maybe he comes off around 70 minutes again. But I think he'll play a lot. And actually, over the next 3 weeks, I don't think anyone can confidently say that Saka's minutes will be better, especially when he's coming back off an injury. So I think Gyökeres looks like a fairly good pick, but I think we need to see him in a few more easier fixtures to determine how good he's going to be, because he is quite a lot of money. But I think he's going to be first choice penalties as well. So I think with him, I've got a idea in the back of my mind that at some point I might sell him and free up a lot of money, and that might come in useful for other upgrades. But I've also got no definitive plan that he needs to go, because if he keeps playing, the Arsenal fixtures are good. So I'm okay with that pick, even though it's still going to take me a few more weeks to be completely on board with it. Evanilson kind of sucks a little bit, to be honest. I went for him on wildcard because at the time it didn't feel like there was any really good cheap options, and also I felt like there was a chance he'd be on penalties with Kluivert not playing. And in the end, Semenyo took the penalty, which means Evanilson's a £7 million player that is nailed and has no Europe, so he's always going to play, but not a penalty taker. And all of a sudden now, it looks like there's 5.5 to 6 million forwards that I could go for. So he's another one where I don't have any plans to sell him, but I'm okay with doing that later on if I need to. So if Gyökeres keeps playing, I need to free up like $1 million or so, maybe Evanilson down to a Calvert-Lewin or a Meniz, and then use that money elsewhere. I think right now, the idea of my team is just to remain flexible. Just be open-minded that most of these players could be sold, but there's no massive need that you have to sell them. Like if you look at Bournemouth's fixtures, there's not really any bad ones coming up, I would say. Leeds away, Fulham at home. I mean, Palace away in 8's not great. Forest at home in 9 is fine. And then it's City away in 10, which is not ideal. But outside of that, I think most of the fixtures are fine. And maybe if I've got money in the bank when I get to game week 9, potentially I sell Evanilson to João Pedro and just accept that maybe I should have got him in the first place. So we'll see how it goes over the next few weeks. I think without penalties at 7 million, not really that much of a great pick, but he's also okay. HAALAND, yellow flagged. What did Pep say yesterday after the Carabao Cup game when he was asked whether HAALAND will be back this weekend? He said, we will see. We will see. I think he said, we will see tomorrow. So I still think HAALAND's probably going to be fine. And Pep Guardiola is just not making excuses, but giving reasons why he subbed him off early and why he didn't play him against Huddersfield. Because he wasn't the only one not in the squad. I think Vardiol wasn't in the squad, Rodri as well. Important players. I'm pretty confident HAALAND's going to start. But because of what Pep keeps saying, there is slight doubts there. Now, as it stands, I'm not going to triple captain. Because, there are doubts around it. Pep's mentioned these back issues. It has slightly put me off a little bit. If Pep's really positive about him on Friday, then I might triple captain. Otherwise, I might just stick to captain because there's always going to be other options later on. It's not that big of a deal. So I think I'm going to keep him as long as Pep's somewhat clear that he's going to play. I tell you now, if Pep says on Friday, we're not sure or we will see, that's going to be absolute chaos because at that point, I'm not quite sure what I will do. I need him to either say that he's out or he's fine. Or at least, some news to come out that he's been training or something like that. Any inclination that he's going to play, then I'm just going to keep him. I think that's the obvious thing to do, right? I've used my 2 free transfers to bring him in, and he'll be my captain, right? I've got no issues with that. If Pep Guardiola says that he's out for Burnley, I might use my free hit, which seems like a bit of an overreaction, I know, but I think it's worthwhile for a few reasons. Now, I could, if HAALAND's out but back for 7, just bench him and play Paquetá, but that doesn't feel great, using 2 transfers to get HAALAND for the best fixture for captaincy and then not have him for captaincy. That feels a bit rubbish. If I free hit, right, this is my team on the My Team tool on Hub. As always, links in the description below if you want to check it out. 50% off at the moment. Lots of tools over there you can check out. This is my team before the transfers, right? And I've got 2 free moves. So I free hit this team, and that's fine, right? Okay, I think the team looks pretty good. It doesn't really need a free hit, but I've put myself into a spot where I've used 2 free transfers on HAALAND. There's a chance that he doesn't play. So I free hit this team, and I get to game week 7 with 2 free transfers. That's what I'm trying to get back, really, is the 2 moves. That's why I would consider free hit, because otherwise I've wasted them on HAALAND. And I get to game week 7, and my team looks fine. And okay, you could argue that Haaland's the best captain against Brentford away, but if I had to captain Bruno against Sunderland at home, I'm okay with that. So I could even roll this team, potentially. I could just play Van Dijk against Chelsea, play Salah against Chelsea as well, sorry. I've got Evanilson, Gyökeres, Mateta against Fulham, West Ham, Everton. It looks okay. Maybe I do Van Dijk to Gabriel. I've got 0.7 million in the bank. Whatever, right? We decide that in game week 7. Or I roll, And then game week 8 onwards, things look okay for me. Like not really an issue at all, apart from the fact I don't have Haaland, but I'm okay with Salah. Like in game week 8, Haaland's got Everton at home, Salah's got Man United at home, it's fine. You look at game weeks 9, 10, etc., they're quite comparable as options. And this way I get to roll more transfers to be even more flexible in the future. So I think that would make the most sense for my team. If Haaland's fine, then I keep him. If he's out and that is confirmed, I think I free hit. And I just stick with a Salah team for a while and hope it does okay. And also, people are so keen on Haaland right now, it's almost like a differential to have Salah anyway. And I think the team looks okay from game week 8. So that would be my plan. I won't go into what free hit draft I would pick right now because I want to wait and see if Haaland's out. But basically, it'd be quite similar to the one I came up with in the game week preview, only it wouldn't have Haaland. It would probably be Richarlison and João Pedro up front. And then I'd go like Foden, Doku, and Vardiol maybe. Or Foden, Reinders, and Doku. Foden, Reinders, and Vardiol, something like that. So yeah, that's my plan. All being fine, I'm captaining Haaland. I might triple captain, but I've got slight doubts about it at the moment. And if he's out, I'm going to free hit, get my transfers back in game week 7, and just roll for a few weeks probably, and just hope that the Salah draft looks okay. Because honestly, the team's fine for many weeks afterwards. And this is without making any moves, by the way. So, game week 8 defence, Van Dijk against Man United at home is fine. It's not ideal that Fernandes is playing against Van Dijk, but whatever, it's not that bad. Goodmanson could even play instead of Senesi away to Palace against Burnley away. Lacroix against Bournemouth at home. Again, not ideal that Evan Nielsen and Semenyo are up against Lacroix, but I'm going to have that issue whether I free hit in 6 or not. And the rest of the attacker looks fine. You go into game week 9. At this point, if I've made no moves, I've got 4 free transfers. And my defence is Van Dijk against Brentford away, Goodmanson against West Ham at home, and Senesi against Forest at home. And, I can get Gabriel in if I need to. Mateta's not great against Arsenal away. Maybe that's a week that I move him on. Or I play Dewsbury Hall against Spurs and Paquetá against Leeds away. I think free hit. I don't want to talk about it too much more, though, because Haaland's going to be fine, isn't he? And I'm going to captain him, and I'm not going to free hit. And then in game week 7, I'm going to buy Gabriel, and then all will be good with the world. If you enjoyed that, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. Check out Fantasy Football Hub using the links in the description below, or scanning that handy QR code on screen. And I'll catch you tomorrow for final thoughts.